Gather round the campfire, scholars of wheel. Tonight for you I have a story. A story about a GT race. Why? Come on, man. What? GT racing is boring. Shut up! It's not boring. GT racing is a form of motorsport, and all forms of motorsport are gonna be respected on this channel, yeah? Good. Now where was I? Today's story involves quite possibly the most prestigious GT race there is, the 24 Hours of Spa, a race that attracts the world's best GT drivers and teams to compete for ultimate glory. Drivers like Raffaele Marciello, Alessandro Pierguidi, and Kevin Estre. Now with 24 hours to spare, all the drivers and teams have to do everything they can to make sure that they're in contention to win this elusive race. Sometimes, however, you'll have setbacks that will make the already difficult race way harder than it was originally planned to be. And today's story features just that. Today's story takes us back to 2021, when an Audi team of 3 of GT racing's best drivers came back from a nightmare setback to pull off one of the best drives in recent racing memory. Buckle up, viewers, this one's gonna be deep. My name is Intern, I talk wheel, and this is Spa 2021, the story of the number 32 Audi. Now, as is mostly the case, a great story has great protagonists, and this particular story has 4. Let's meet them. Up first, Charles Weerts and Dries Van Thor. Weerts and Van Thor are teammates in the GT World Challenge Europe, but how did both of them get to this point? Charles Weerts started out in single-seaters. He ran a few races in the Formula 4 UAE Championship back in 2017, before going on to win the championship in 2018 ahead of David Schumacher. He raced in ADAC Formula 4 the next year, finishing 5th in the standings. After this, he moved to sports car racing, racing for Audi in the 2019 Blancpain GT Endurance Series. He had a bad season, only scoring 1 point all season, and in 2020, he was paired with none other than Dries Van Thor. Van Thor moved to sports car racing in 2016, after racing in the Formula Renault 2.0 Northern European Cup and finishing 6th in the standings with a win to his name. He mainly raced for Audi in 2016 while doing a one-off at the 24 Hours of Nürburgring in a lower class BMW and winning his class. He won the 2017 24 Hours of Le Mans GTE Amateur class for Ferrari. He continued participating in GT series for Audi and would eventually cross paths with his new teammate for 2020, Charles Weerts. The two young Belgians would see much success, winning 2 races and scoring 6 podiums to eventually win the GT World Challenge Sprint Cup, a win that would eventually promote the young Weerts to a factory driver status with Audi. The two would head into the 2021 24 Hours of Spa looking to win it for the first time. However, as per the rules, they would need a third driver. Enter protagonist number 3, Kelvin van der Linde. After beating the best of the best in his home country of South Africa, a young Kelvin van der Linde took his talents to an international scale. After winning the Volkswagen Scirocco Cup at 17 years of age, he moved on to ADAC GT Masters for Audi, where he became the series' youngest ever champion at 18 years old. This gave him the coveted factory driver status with Audi in 2015, and he saw much success in this role. He won the 2017 24 Hours of Nürburgring, and then he moved to DTM in 2021 after they changed their rules to allow GT3 cars to compete in the top class. He started the season well and was leading the championship, exiting round 3 in Zolder before heading to Spa to serve as the third driver for Charles and Dries. But in turn, who's protagonist number 4? Well, That would be the number 32 Audi, of course. This car was fielded by a team called WRT, which stands for W Racing Team. This team was a joint project between the former head of Volkswagen Motorsport, René Verbist, racing driver Vincent Voss, and entrepreneur Yves Weerts, who also happens to be Charles Weerts' father. They started in 2009 and fielded Audis in GT championships by 2010. They hit major success in 2011, winning the 24 Hours of Spa that year, and since then, they've competed in other series such as DTM and the World Endurance Championship, and winning races like the 24 Hours of Nürburgring, as well as the LMP2 class of the 2021 24 Hours of Le Mans. This is the car that they would be piloting, the Audi R8 LMS GT3 Evo. Audi's product to GT racing teams worldwide that wanted to have a crack at a championship. Homologated from the ever-popular Audi R8 that was launched in 2006. According to AudiMediaCenter.com, with 83 drivers' titles won worldwide and 106 additional championship victories, the Audi R8 LMS GT3 is one of the most successful GT3 race cars. This would be the steed they piloted in their bid to win the 24 Hours of Spa. Weerts, Van Thor and van der Linde would pilot the number 32 Audi for the 2021 24 Hours of Spa. Given the recent GT racing success of the two Belgians, coupled with Kelvin's history as a factory driver and his great races so far in DTM, the number 32 Audi was one of the favourites to take the victory. They would add more weight to these predictions after going P1 in the race's pre-qualifying sessions, gapping second place by more than 3/10. The team headed into qualifying looking to set a time fast enough to make it out of their group and challenge for pole in the Super Pole shootout. The session began with Dries Van Thor behind the wheel. There were only 15 minutes in the session, with over 20 cars on track, so he had to wait for a gap to form in front of him in order to have the best lap possible. His qualifying lap started brilliantly with no traffic ahead. However, after going up Eau Rouge, Van Thor passed a destroyed Lamborghini on the side of the track. The number 16 Lamborghini, driven by Tim Zimmerman, had crashed, causing the session to not only be yellow flagged, but red flagged and halted altogether. The session was red flagged for quite a while, and when they went back to green, all the cars had rushed to set a lap time as quick as possible. Unfortunately for the number 32 Audi, amidst the rush of the traffic and the time remaining, the team failed to set a lap, and of the 58 cars entered for the event, they would have to start the race in 54th place. They were at the bottom of the mountain, and to get to the top, they'd have to climb 53 spots. Luckily for them, spirits were still high in pre-race, as the three of them knew they had a fast car, and with 24 hours to play around with, they had plenty of time to make up the spots. Kelvin would start the race for the number 32 car. The race begun, and by the end of lap 1, he had gone from 54th to 47th. He'd make another one after Chris Frogart spun his Ferrari on the last chicane at the end of lap 2. In an off-screen moment, Kelvin's car suffered a technical issue at La Source, dropping him to 52nd and undoing most of his progress. He had made a bold overtake on a Ferrari after exiting Puhan to take P51. A terrible crash took place later in the first hour involving Jack Aitken, Kevin Estra, and others that put the race under a full course yellow for over half an hour for the massive debris and wreckage to be cleaned up. Due to multiple cars pitting under this period, the number 32 Audi had climbed all the way to P31 when the race went back to green. A few minutes after the restart, rain began to fall at Spa, drenching the dry racing surface. Some cars opted to pit immediately upon noticing the showers, while others decided to try and weather it out. Kelvin pit immediately, and after the rain continued and those that stayed out struggled and came to pit, van der Linde filtered his way all the way to P13. Once the track had dried up, Kelvin had pit for dries and handed driving duties over to Dries Van Thor. Dries put in a great stint, and by the time he handed the car over to Charles Weerts, the number 32 Audi was firmly in the top 15. Great! Around 5 hours of racing is done and they had already made up around 40 spots. But as Kobe Bryant once said, the job's not finished, because now we're entering the night stint. Visibility was severely limited due to a lack of lights around the track. Luckily, the 3 drivers kept their heads on their shoulders and pushed through the night, making up spots and trading stints amongst each other. When the sun came back up in the morning, they made it up to second place, and it became increasingly evident that the eventual battle for the win would be between the number 32 Audi and the number 51 Iron Lynx Ferrari driven by Alessandro Pierguidi, Nicholas Nielsen, and Kom Ledegar. The 2 cars would battle for the lead all second half, but nothing the number 32 Audi was doing worked. Only a bold strategy would help them close the gap, and that opportunity came in the last hour of the race. The leaders pit for slicks on what they thought would be their final stop of the day, putting the Audi into the lead. However, when the Audi pit, they didn't pit for slicks, they pit for wets. This was because they had seen rain on their radar heading to the track and realized that this was their best shot to catch the Iron Lynx Ferrari lacking. If the rains came, the Ferrari would pit and they would inherit the lead. If not, then second place it is. But they had to try something. Lo and behold, the plan paid off. The rains bellowed upon Spa-Francorchamps, and the Ferrari tried to brave the conditions on their slick tires before realizing that the feat was impossible and relinquished the lead to the Audi boys and pit for wets. WRT did it. They out-strategized Ferrari and now it was smooth sailing to the end for Dries Van Thor. Except it wasn't. As a matter of fact, me even saying smooth sailing is ironic, because the rain ended up falling so hard that the cars ended up looking more like boats on the sea rather than cars on the track. The rain got so bad that multiple drivers struggled and a full course yellow had to be deployed. With all the cars lined up, WRT lost their entire advantage and the race restarted with only a few lapped cars between themselves and the Iron Lynx Ferrari. The race restarted with only 27 minutes left, and after the Ferrari displaced the lap cars, it was evident that the win would be decided in a straight fight to the finish between Dries Van Thor and Alessandro Pierguidi. The two battled hard, but unfortunately for WRT, with 9 minutes remaining, Pierguidi lined up Van Thor and pulled off a stunning overtake round the outside of Blanchimont, passing Van Thor once and for all, and went on to win the 2021 24 Hours of Spa. The race was over. The number 32 Audi started this race in P54, and it finished it P2, losing the lead with only 9 minutes to go. What a drive, am I right? What an amazing triumph, making up all those spots. Wow, these guys are amazing. That's worth celebrating. That's not how the lads felt post-race though. Dries was very disappointed that he wasn't able to secure the win for the team, but remained grateful for the drive itself. Weerts, Van Thor and Van der Linde climbed to the second step of the podium. Truth be told, comebacks like this are easier in endurance racing, as there's way more time to make up the spots. But that's just making up spots. These guys didn't strap into that Audi to make up spots and do a great drive for the sake of doing one. In their mind, they should have already been at the front to begin with. They were the quickest before qualifying and they were expected to win pole, and even from P54, they marched to the front and resumed business as usual. The beauty of motorsport is that what seems like nothing to a driver seems meteoric to us regular fans. To them, second place is unsatisfactory because the goal was always to win, whether it was from the pole or from the back. To us fans, however, it was an amazing drive, dictated by quick pace and amazing strategy. The drivers weren't satisfied, nor should they, but luckily, we as fans can appreciate the performance they put in and the show that they put on. After all, that's why we watch racing, isn't it? My name is Intern, I talk wheel, and thanks for watching.